we're going to attempt to go in the back and speak to some of the sanitation workers if we can, because part of the program is still going on. But I hope everyone enjoyed that program, and then we had an impromptu appearance by Reverend Jackson. So we're still here in Mason Temple, and we are headed back and to actually try to have some one-on-one with some of the sanitation workers who are still here, and I think hopefully you all can still hear me okay. But can we do one? Is he doing ball them in once? So we do one at a time. How you want to?
Do
Nickelberry, brother Nickelberry. Okay, all right. We have some other members of the of the press here. James Riley,
James Riley,
Cleophas Smith,
Reverend Cleophas Smith,
Reverend Cleophas Smith,
Elmore Nickelberry,
Elmore Nickelberry is also here,
Baxter Leach.
and Baxter and Baxter Leach is also here. Mr. Leach, how you feeling? 50 years later, has much changed since it was working 50 years ago?
Yeah, it's a whole lot of been changed. You know, like I said, who would have thought this day would come? It's a blessing me to live to see this day. Cause who would have thought 50 years back all this been going on? Cause I never dreamed I would have been in all the places I've been going to, speaking about the same thing what we talking about today. Cause like I said, I've been some everywhere, you know, I can go where they send me to speak. And that's a blessing because, like I tell people, I don't have education. So I'm a Mississippi boy. I've been working there since I was 7, 8 years old, following my dad buying mule, my brother on tractor. I'd come up the hard way work because I had to quit school when I was 14 years old to help my daddy. And when I grew up and got married, then I came here, got with the city. And see, T.O. John, I gave him the credit to his head for the day because he passed away. I thank God for him. Because one for him, we wouldn't have been where we are today in Martin Luther King.
Yes, sir.
And I thank God for him. Because like I said, people don't stand for nothing what they stand for nothing.
Yeah.
We still have to be men, not boys. Because since I've been all my life, I ain't never been called no boy. I've been called by my name, either, that's all I have, about that. I thank God for, like I said, I thank God for my family stuck with me, other people stuck with me. And I would have thought I would have lived to get a business, me and my family, you know.
Yes, sir.
And I thank God for that. And my brother, all my brothers and sisters, they stuck with me.
Yeah.
And T.O. John, I hate it. He the one help us got what we had today. The only thing I hate about was how they did him, sent him away. He didn't have no job when he got where he was. Not Clem, but Joe Warren, I had to send for him to come back home. When he got back home, he still didn't have no job. And afterwards, later on, he just passed on away. That's the only thing that hurted me about him. I thank God for T.O. Jones put me where I'm at today.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Leach. Just Baxley, Mr. Nickelberry, you're still working. Is that true?
That's true.
How many years have you been with the sanitation department?
64.
64 years.
Yeah.
And why are you still working?
Well, I'm still working. I'm just still working. That's it. You know what I mean? I'm working. I'm working because I got a good family, and I'm trying to support their family, my family, and that's when I'm still working. But I you know what I mean?
Has much changed in the department
Yeah.
over the past year?
Yeah.
How has it changed?
We changed because now we get uniforms, we get shoes and stuff like that, raincoats. During that time, we didn't get nothing, but now we get raincoats and got a place we can wash up, clean ourselves up, and different boots. Last year gave us some boots, stuff like that, and different things.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. And Reverend Clovis Smith was also one of the sanitation workers. You all used to have to ride in the back of the truck, right?
Right, that's right. We rode on the back of the trucks. That's right.
And the two gentlemen who were killed, did you know them?
Not personally, but I was at work the day that they got killed, and we had to keep on working. Couldn't go. We couldn't stop working. We was told to keep on working.
So they wouldn't even give you a minute to pause and reflect, huh?
No, there wasn't no such thing as pause and reflect. We had to just keep on working or else.
So, so does anybody know how did the compact even get started? Did somebody flip the switch accidentally or what?
It was a malfunction. I think they might have been on their way to the installation or on their way to the landfill. These two gentlemen was up in the back of the truck on a tarpaulin. It was raining, cold, and bad, trying to keep warm. And there was a malfunction. I think it was a Caucasian gentleman that was driving the truck. And I think it might have been 5 men on that truck. 3 was in the cab with him, and 2, Mr. Walker and Mr. Ecker was in there, up in the back of the hopper when the thing malfunctioned. And the packer blade from the back shot to the front and just squashed them. Yeah.
Mr. Riley, James Riley, you were around then, correct? You were there when that happened?
No, I wasn't there when that happened.
Okay. When did you join? The Sanitation Workers?
1963.
1963.
Yeah, I was one employer, but I was part of the strike.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. You participated in the strike.
Definitely so. I marched many times, been in King President many times, and also at Mason Temple here, when they would have the meeting, I'd be sitting right behind Dr. King.
Yeah. You were right here that night.
Oh, that night while he made that speech, no, I couldn't get back down. I went home. It rained so hard, I couldn't even get out of my street. Water was almost knee deep. You know?
Did you get to meet him?
Oh, Dr. King?
Yes.
Many times. The day he was assassinated, when they called down to Claiborne Temple where we were, I was helping them with the contribution they were giving the workers. I was helping with that, and they called down and said he had been shot. I got there way before they moved his body. Yes, I was. I got that when Jesse Jack was standing up there pointing at the building where the bullet came from.
What was it like when you met him and spoke to him? What do you remember about him personally?
He has such a beautiful personality. Even a blind man could see it, in my opinion. Yeah, he was that type of person he was. He had such a beautiful personality. And he could speak. I don't know. I think today, even the dead in Christ, the guys who want to go on before him and after him, they would be happy to stand up and say, I love Dr. King.
Yeah, yes, sir. James Riley. And also, with us, Bill Lucy, one of the leaders and organizers of the movement. You were here this very night 50 years ago.
Absolutely. It seems like it's just sort of a rerun of 50 years ago with the audience that's there today. It was a tremendous evening.
When he talked about and he said, I may not get there with you, Bill, did that register as much as it does now? Did you all really pick up that he might have really been talking about never being seen again?
It didn't register that night, Mark, but later on through the following day, as we were preparing for the march on the 5th, it became clear that Dr. King really almost had a premonition. I don't want to say a premonition of death, but a premonition of tragedy, because his speech that night, and these were without notes. These were instinctive comments based on the situation that he saw in front of him. And for us who had responsibility for strike activity, we kept saying, Mr. Jesse Epps and myself, what did Doc mean last night? And it was clear that he was troubled by the situation he was confronted with. And he was determined to have, again, a non-violent, peaceful demonstration to advance the cause that these men were fighting for. Dr. King wouldn't have had no trouble whatever getting a mob together. But he was absolutely opposed to any level and form of violence. And he really saw these men as his responsibility at that point. And that last phase of the speech where he raised the question, what would happen to them if he did not stop, that was really heart-rendering to him.
What was the date planned for the second march? What was that date?
The second date was planned for March 18th, I believe. And we had a blizzard.
Right.
Came to the city, and it just canceled all activities. It was reset for the 28th. We then had the provocateurs who, in effect, moved to destroy the tape. And Mark, I think people ought to take the opportunity to read the Senator Frank Church Senate Intelligence Committee report done in 1969 to get a sense of how the FBI perceived Dr. King and the things that they did to diminish his stature in the eyes of people. It's something people ought to read.
Do you think that the FBI and the government was involved in that provocateuring?
I just based on who was participating, you had to say at least one of them was, and it was clear that the glass breaking, the window breaking, was not done by just young people. These were paid provocateurs whose mission it was to destroy that strike. I mean that march.
So he got the court order to have another march. If that when would that date have been? On the 5th or the 6th? Or
I believe it would have been on the 5th. We were trying to ramp up as best we could to keep the momentum going and to really provoke the mayor to really carry out his sworn duties, and that is deliver services to the citizens of Memphis, Tennessee. This mayor was determined not to ever be confronted with a situation where he would sit down across any table from these men to respond to their interests and their concerns.
Bill Lucy, also AFSCME was the union here, folks, and we're broadcasting live on Sirius XM. Reverend Smith, what was the atmosphere in the city when the word went out that Dr. King had been shot?
It was just chaos, moaning, and people's crying and wailing, and a lot of riots broke out. I mean, it was horrible.
Yeah, but absolutely right. More riots, and anyway, burning or whatever. And some areas, like if you went home, you better stay in the house. That's just that bad. I was there. I was a part of that. I know that.
Miss Nickelberry, where were you when you heard Dr. King had been shot?
I was on my way down there. I couldn't get down there because there was a lot of burning and everything. I couldn't get down that way, so I went back home.
And what about you, Brother Leach? Where were you when you heard Dr. King passed away?
I was at home, and when I heard it, it just something that went through me. Just like it was like when they called me about my father, and I said I just broke down. 'Cause I just dined there with my father. See him when I got back, and they called me and said he was passed. It just hurted me, and I went to cry. 'Cause see when people started when they did that. Where I lived at, people started throwing bricks, bottles at white folk cars. I got that to y'all. Quit throwing at these cars. These folks ain't did nothing to y'all. That's on y'all tending these folk cars. These folks got to go to work. And I got that. I called the police on them and put the police on them. And then I walked the street because I wasn't afraid. And I told them they started burning, tearing up. What good it done do? Yeah. It didn't help none. Because the only way we got the same part of the cellar. We talking about going down to Chickasaw Garden where the white folk were. They didn't want us down there because that's where the rich folk were. And then we started going to these stores, grocery stores, putting food in the basket and the clothes in the basket, just holding up the stove. That's what we got. Then the people got, then they, like Jim Lawton said, we got to stretch the cellar because he called, whatever he did, had to get to Martin Luther King. He got on low, he got to do something about this, because that's the only thing I hate about it. He come in and got killed.
Mr. Leach, Mr. Nickelberry, Mr. Riley, Reverend Cleophas Smith, Bill Lucy. These were the men who were involved in that struggle and who brought Dr. King here to Memphis and stood with him until he fell. I want to thank all of you. Yes, please. Quick.
One thing Mayor Henry Lowe said, he picked up in a predominant white neighborhood, especially Chickasaw Garden, Fox Meadow, all those places. He said on national TV, he didn't care if the garbage is as high as the apartment building in the black neighborhood. He said that on national TV.
Yeah, and that was part of the struggle. Folks, we thank you for tuning in. Those of you listening on Sirius XM Progress, we'll be back live tonight here at 7 Eastern, 6 Central for the Mountaintop program. I'm going to give it back to Angelique in the studio. Angelique, thank you. We'll talk again this evening. Thank you all very, very much.
All right. We'll hear from you later, Mark. You were just listening to the 50th anniversary commemoration